I'd like to say that it's not only thoughtless and reckless advice, but it is advice that will not work. It is orthodox, out of touch, and ridiculous, I'd like to say, because the Chief Minister's real concern is delimitation, which is a valid concern. But his statement reflects a narrow view of women's role in society. It reduces them to child bearers instead of recognizing them as individuals with their goals and aspirations. Irresponsible is what he's asking the parents to become if they were to have more children. But you know, Karan, I am confident, especially women of India, given their aspirations, given how they think through these issues, they are not going to listen to Chandrababu Naidu or Stalin or the Prime Minister or anybody or Mohan Bhagwat.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. Yesterday, the Tamil Nadu Minister for Information Technology and Digital Services told us that the prospect of delimitation in 2026 was creating alarm and panic. One response from the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu is to call upon newlyweds to immediately have children. He presumably wants them to have as many as they can and as quickly as possible. But in a country with a population of 1.4 billion, is this wise or reckless advice? Does it treat women as baby-producing factories rather than individuals with a right of choice? And finally, is this the right response to delimitation? My guest is the Executive Director of the Population Foundation of India, Poonam Muttreja. Poonam Muttreja, yesterday, Chief Minister Stalin publicly advised newlyweds in Tamil Nadu to immediately have babies. He presumably wants them to have as many as they can and as quickly as they can. This is his way of responding to the threat of delimitation. But in a country with a population of 1.4 billion, where, to be honest, the vast majority live perilously close to poverty, is this wise advice or thoughtless and reckless?
You know, I'd like to say that it's not only thoughtless and reckless advice, but it is advice that will not work. And there are many reasons. You know, politicians, whether for political goals, religious beliefs, or demographic concerns, have no right to dictate what women should do with their bodies. Reproductive choices must remain personal, shaped by individual autonomy and their circumstances, as you said. This rhetoric is deeply problematic as it reduces women to just child-producing babies and instruments for population growth. Women cannot be treated and be disregarded, and their reproductive autonomy ignores social, economic, and health factors that influence their decisions. Encouraging childbirth without addressing these issues is futile. Families have more children, have less children because of the economic reasons today. They cannot put food in the basket, given that the per capita income in India is 2,600, and food price inflation, especially for food, where poor families spend 80% of their budgets on food, cannot afford to have more than two children. And simply because a politician urges them to have children, they are not going to have children. Look at also the costs for education and health. Private expenditures on both is very high, close to 60% today. Families can't afford to educate their children. Families can't afford healthcare. So how can they respond to a chief minister urging them to have more children? A more responsible approach, I believe, would be involving and creating conditions where families feel supported to have the number of children they wish.
You've said a lot in that answer. Let's take up some of the points you've made one by one. Right at the beginning, you said, when you agreed with my question that this is not just thoughtless and reckless advice, you said it was advice that will not work. Briefly tell me, why won't this advice work?
This advice won't work because women in India, the wanted fertility rate is 2 or even less than 2, 1.8. And in the southern states, it's even less because women are educated, the literacy rates are higher. The second reason it will not work is once fertility begins to decline, Karan, anywhere in the world, where incentives, disincentives are given, fertility goes one way. It goes down and down when people are educated and the health systems are able to respond. The chief minister of Tamil Nadu or any other state is not going to go back on less education, less healthcare, good family planning services. They cannot take that away. And women's aspirations have changed. Women want to be in the workforce. Women want to be more educated. Women, especially young girls, and the chief ministers out of touch with what women want. And a better approach would be to give women the freedom to choose than trying to push ideas of having more children.
That's the second point you made. What does this reflect about the chief minister's attitude to women? As you suggested in your answer, he seems to be treating them as baby-producing factories rather than as individuals who are educated and have a right to choose and decide for themselves. Is his attitude to women far from being progressive, regressive, and almost orthodox?
It is orthodox, out of touch, and ridiculous, I'd like to say, because the chief minister's real concern is delimitation, which is a valid concern. But his statement reflects a narrow view of women's role in society. It reduces them to child bearers instead of recognizing them as individuals with their goals and aspirations, which can, if women were working, it would contribute to and have a balanced life and childcare situation. Women would contribute to the economy of his state. No country or state has done well in the world unless women are participating in the workforce. Tamil Nadu has been historically, I want to say, Karan, here, it's been historically progressive in women's education and employment. Calling for more births instead of supporting women's rights is a step backward. And finally, I do want to say that the attitude to women will have to be reversed if he wants women to have more children. And women in Tamil Nadu and children have benefited from great schemes. They have set up records in the state which are equal to records across the world where societies where fertility has gone down too, but where women's needs need to be balanced.
Now, I presume that the real problem the chief minister wishes to tackle is the fertility rate of his state, Tamil Nadu, which, according to the Hindu newspaper, is just 1.4, substantially below the replacement rate of 2.1. No doubt he wants to boost it, but is this the right way of doing it, or is it a mistaken way of doing it?
It's a totally mistaken and unviable. They should learn from global evidence, not only evidence in India, that it will not work. If you look at Sweden, for instance, and Denmark, public child care systems, generous parental leave for both parents, policies that give workplace flexibility, help stabilize fertility. Women are having 3 children and 4 children in these countries where they care about their about their women and childcare. The entire burden falls on the woman to not only have babies but do childcare, work outside the home, take care of aged parents, and these are aging societies. So the burden on women is something that we need to deal with. And there are countries that have dealt with it, as I said, Japan and Denmark. And if you look at Germany, demographic data used extensively for evidence-based resource allocation.
So, if I understand you correctly, you're saying the way to encourage women to have children is to follow the Danish, the Japanese, or the Swedish example, not simply to say immediately start having babies as soon as you get married.
And that won't happen because, Karan, the women's aspirations are to be in the workplace. Women's aspirations are to educate themselves more. Women's aspirations are to marry late.
So he's running against the aspirations of the modern woman.
Absolutely. And there's enough evidence and research to show that.
The truth is, women want to marry late, they want to be educated, they want to work, they want a life of their own, they want the right to choose that life for themselves. He's going against the entire grain of the way women are developing and thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, affordable and accessible childcare, equal parental leave policies, financial incentives to reduce the economic burden of raising children on women. Then there is migration. They have enough people coming in.
Absolutely. Migration can add to the problem or detract from it. But the truth is, this is not the first time Chief Minister Stalin has spoken in this way. In October, when he was talking about how Tamils traditionally have 16 types of wealth, he added, delimitation has made us think that why shouldn't we go for 16 children? This is therefore not a one-off. It seems to be a well thought out, deliberate campaign on his part. Every 4 or 5 months, he speaks in this way.
I would like to say that it is a badly thought out. If he's thought this through, it's very badly thought out. Instead of raising, as I said, the real issues, the chief ministers raised concerns about delimitation before. In October, as you said, he jokingly suggested 16 children in response to potential losses that Tamil Nadu will go through. This is not a one-off remark. I agree with you, but it very clearly states that the chief minister doesn't get it. And he's playing bad politics too on the delimitation issue, while his concerns about political representation, as I keep repeating, are valid. Encouraging larger families is not a practical solution. And I just have to keep repeating, he should focus on ensuring that delimitation does not penalize states that have successfully done population stabilization.
But the chief minister of Tamil Nadu is not the only southern chief minister who's spoken about encouraging people to have more children as quickly as possible. The truth is, Chandrababu Naidu, the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh, has also spoken in similar terms. Last year, ironically, around October, he called upon the people of Andhra to give up family planning and have more children. He even said he would create a law to incentivize them. If this is beginning to look like the response of Southern chief ministers, either to a declining or aging population or to delimitation, it could be either or both. As
Yeah.
executive director of the Population Fund of India, what do you say to them?
So, I hate to say it, but Chandrababu Naidu is sounding like Putin. Putin has said the same, that that Russian women should have 8 children, give up their jobs as a national duty. I'm sure he doesn't want to sound like Putin, but he is sounding coercion doesn't work. Coercion, whether it is to have more children or less children. Andhra Pradesh had a two-child norm for local elections, which was actually done away with. But now again, he wants to do it. It's an acknowledgement that they don't learn from their mistakes. But now we are making the same mistake by proposing a two-child norm for panchayats, which is not only coercive, but it doesn't again work. Because people, when this happened in other states, Karan, 12 states did do a two-child norm about a decade ago. For panchayats, women had to give up babies for adoption, men divorced wives on paper, and it had disastrous consequences, and that's why they had to take this back.
So he's repeating the mistakes of the past.
Absolutely. We also need to understand what are the solutions that work. We can't confuse representation with fertility issues. Demographic changes take place over decades. They don't take place over few years. By 26, they are not going to be able to fix anything with coercive, non-coercive, or any of the statements or ideas they have.
That is, in fact, the shallowest part of Chief Minister Stalin's proposal, that he wants the results to be shown in literally a year's time, and that's just impossible to happen.
Totally. Therefore, when you said it's a thought-through strategy, I said it's an ill-thought-through strategy. If it is a strategy, they have to rethink.
Let me pick up on one last thing that you said in that wonderful first answer of yours. If the people of Tamil Nadu decide to follow their chief minister's advice and start having lots of babies immediately, how capable are they of bringing up large families and looking after them adequately? And I'm talking primarily about the issue of concern to you, health and education of children. How capable are they of being able to respond adequately to more children which they have immediately?
That's the first thing the chief minister has to think about. People don't have, as I said even earlier, the economic capability, given the food inflation and low incomes. They do not wish to or have the ability to have more than two children. Private education costs a lot of money, and a significant proportion, again, goes, as I said, in the private sector. For instance, I also want to say, for instance, in 2020, 45% of the primary students in India were enrolled in private institutions, and you know the price. Healthcare expenses, 60% is in the private sector. In contrast, many Western countries have very different proportion of students studying in the private sector. America, England, many other countries, 90%.
So what you're saying is that if in these circumstances you start encouraging people to have more children immediately, you're making them face up to the fact that they won't be able to educate them, they won't be able to pay for private education, they won't be able to pay for private healthcare. You're bringing children into the world where you're unprepared to bring them up properly.
Irresponsible is what he's asking the parents to become if they were to have more children. But Karan, I am confident, especially women of India, given their aspirations, given how they think through these issues, they are not going to listen to Chandrababu Naidu or Stalin or the Prime Minister or anybody or Mohan Bhagwat.
My last question. What then would be the right response to the alarm and panic that delimitation has obviously created? Very quickly, what do you think would be the right response?
So one could be extending the freeze. We froze delimitation once in 1976 and once in 2001 because there was so much diversity and there was so much discord between and diversity between the population of North and South. That hasn't changed. It has gone worse. So there is a reason to keep the freeze. Second, regions at different stages of population growth require tailored policies and responses. So the rationale behind freezing delimitation stands. We could have a weighted criteria instead of relying solely on population numbers. We could rely on economic growth. We could rely on education, house states, and their needs. Aging society is one reason we have to.
In other words, we need to rethink our approach to delimitation pretty radically.
Absolutely. And, balanced representation is what they are asking for. The number of parliamentary seats can be increased to ensure that the state doesn't lose representation. The issue that they're raising is representation. And learning from global experience, there are models that exist. But finally, I want to say, above all, the principle of not penalizing that the states that have followed population stabilization, which means invested in education, health, and better governance, they must remain central to the solution.
Poonam Muttreja, thank you very much for the time you've given me. Take care. Stay safe.
Pleasure.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.